Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey. And today, as we gear up for Week 10 in the NFL, we're talking about some players who disappointed us last week, and and what it means, and should we have any trust in them going forward? So there's a couple guys that I think we were counting on for some good weeks, and it just didn't materialize at all. So I'll start quick with I'm going to start off with the quarterback, because we had one quarterback, and it was Tom Brady, who has put up some big games this year. And then him in the Bucs, after he gets Godwin back from injury, Antonio Brown plays, he has Mike Evans, he has Rob Gronkowski, you have Fournette, you have Ronald Jones, and he puts up like 5.3 points in standard scoring. Can you trust this guy? Can you trust Tom Brady if you have him on your team to put him in your lineup? How do you feel about this? Like, it is you don't really have to make that decision. I don't know. You could be playing him against Carolina. That's feels like that should be a good matchup, but can you trust it at all?
Trust is a loose term. Will I play him? Yeah, I would still play him. Most quarterbacks have a down week. Unfortunately, Carolina shouldn't be a bad matchup, and it was week 2, but that was his other worst performance of the year, to date. So he only had one touchdown, 217 yards in that Carolina game earlier in the season. I think he was hitting kind of a high point, and he was starting to throw a lot of touchdowns. You were kind of getting in that mode. But it wasn't like they went towards Ronald Jones and Fournette. That wasn't like the reason why he didn't do well. He obviously, everything kind of went wrong for him and the entire team last week. I think you shake that off. I think you have to just give him another shot, because I don't know, unless you have another quarterback, and I don't know, the only other two that are technically below him that you would consider putting in would be like a Lamar or Tannehill, Herbert, those guys that have been, they could be up and coming. But even then, I think with all those weapons, you roll with them. I don't see myself getting off the Tom Brady bandwagon because of one game, even though it was horrendous.
Yeah, I'm kind of there with you. I think it's just a 1 week blip. I think it'll go away. It was really, really bad. It's just almost unexplainable what happened in that game. Was it 38-3? It was just, I don't know what happened. So I think it's a 1 week thing, and I think it'll turn around. I'm not gonna completely be scared off of it. But so how about at running back? There's a couple guys that I thought were starting to become maybe more reliable, and then just put up just nothing. One of them would be James Conner. So James Conner, if he ended up here with two points, I believe, just 2 points. I think he had 9 carries for 22 yards in a matchup that should have been a very good matchup against Dallas, and nothing happened from that. So is that one that we should be leery of now? James Conner, he's going against Cincinnati this week. He should be a top 10 guy. But after that performance, I don't know if this is something I'll say, if disclaimer on this podcast is, I don't think we've ever been the biggest James Conner guys to begin with. He's just that guy who you kind of feel like you have to play because he's going to get volume. To me, he's like a better David Montgomery. That's about it. It's like, he's going to get volume and he should be there. But I was actually starting to come around on him a little bit and thinking, okay, maybe he'd do well for you. But then this performance against Dallas was just horrendous.
It was bad, but once again, I feel not as much of a Tom Brady thing, because I think the difference there is Tom Brady has all these weapons. He can go off. James Conner's not the guy that's going to hit it big in 1 week, but he's been incredibly consistent. And when he gets over 10 carries, he usually delivers. And maybe it's not the best, yards per average or stats that you can look at to find out how explosive the guy was during the game. But he's going to get the job done, and a lot of the times, every other game or so, he's going to get you a touchdown as well. He doesn't catch a whole lot, but they do trust him enough to give him usually anywhere from 15 to 20 carries, right? He's had 2 bad games. Both of those games, he's had 9 carries against Dallas or 6 carries in week 1 against the Giants. Other than that, he's had touchdowns in every other game but one. I think you have to trust him because he's consistent. And I would rather have that than the giant ups and downs of a lot of these other running backs at the moment. So every once in a while you're going to have that. That's unfortunate, but I think they get back on track, especially in the Cincinnati game. I do feel like it's going to be a lot more of a Pittsburgh Steelers game that we're used to seeing.
So how about a player like Melvin Gordon, who didn't do anything last week, 2.7 in standard? He has Phillip Lindsay there, who's eaten into the workload. How trustworthy can Melvin Gordon be? I know this is one that I don't feel good about it, but he's in that level where a lot of times you probably have to throw him into almost like a flex type spot. But with Lindsay there, man, it's not like Gordon's been great. I don't think he's really he hasn't really impressed me this year, I will say. But you throwing him into your lineups this week against the Raiders?
Like you said, in a flex position, running back is scarce, but he is one that I truly do have doubts about. I think that everything going on the field hasn't really looked all that great. They did give him the ball a lot early in the year, and he made up some points because they gave him so much bulk. But with Lindsay back, we know how dangerous Lindsay can be because that team loves him. And he overachieves every time you get it. And even if you're only splitting carries with him, he will find the way on the field. So if Gordon is not performing well, and on top of that, hopefully all that is behind him, but he's the new guy, and then obviously getting in trouble off the field and not playing a couple of games too, it does weigh on you. And after the bye, he didn't play week 6, and then week 7, 8, and 9. 7, he got 17 carries, right? He only turned it into 68 yards. He got the touchdown, which is what you're looking for with Melvin Gordon. But the next 2 games, even when he did that, they really went away from him in a big way. He only had 8 carries and then 6 carries. I see a world where Melvin Gordon down the stretch does not do a whole lot for your team. And it's worrisome because I don't know, there's not a path out of Melvin Gordon in my mind. I don't know where else you could go with him because he's still a name. He's still technically the goal line back, but I don't think he carries a lot of value. So I'm not sure what you would do in that situation, but right now, this is a guy that I'm kind of panicking about.
I'm with you there. I don't feel comfortable putting in my lineup. I feel like it's a lot of times you do it because it's almost like you have to, and there's not anybody else you feel better about. But if it's a flex spot and he's your guy, I think I'm looking for a receiver at that point. And I'm just not going to play Melvin Gordon. I'll find a receiver that might do something. And there's more receiver options. I feel like I don't feel comfortable with Melvin Gordon right now. So how about, and I'll say one more name, which I don't even really have to talk about because are we worried? Yeah. Devin Singletary. I just got to apologize. I'm very sorry to the listeners. I'm just sorry. I'm sorry for Devin Singletary. It just hasn't happened. And at this point, we can say it's not happening, and it's not like it's because Zach Moss just was amazing, right? It's nothing to do with Zach Moss. He's just the goal line. It's how Buffalo has decided to, how they've decided to play, and it's working out for him. Can't blame them. It's working. It's doing well.
Yeah, so. Yeah. This one hurts probably the most. I think he is probably a player that I was the most off on in the past couple of years. Yeah. Because I really saw the avenue for him to be a very good running back in the NFL. And like you said, we talked about it, but it is not, I still don't think it's an indictment on how he's been playing necessarily. But I do think it shows maybe my underappreciation of Josh Allen. And he's not the stereotypical quarterback by any means, but because of that, having that volume touch as a quarterback has killed the production of the run game for running backs on this team.
Yep. So
yeah, this one I'm just gonna, it's wrong, just straight up wrong. And yeah, it kills me to say. And every once in a while, like in weeks, weeks 3 and 4, I really thought there was a moment where I was like, oh no, now he's coming around, he's doing better. He had 12 points, 13 points. He got a touchdown that week 4, and then once again they go completely, kind of the other way, just less and less carries, touches, and on top of that, Zach Moss is the goal line back. So I feel like everyone loses in that situation. So yeah, it's a bummer.
It is. All right. So one of our listeners, Russ, had a question asking, is it time to worry about guys like DJ Moore and Adam Thielen? So I'll say I'm not as worried about Thielen. I think we talked about this the other day about Dalvin Cook, though, and how well he's playing. And I think it can take away from Thielen if they're just going to run the ball. You can't just run the ball. I don't believe you do have to throw it a little bit. So I'm not overly worried about Thielen. I'll say, I think there's still going to be some, I'm okay with him. DJ Moore, on the other hand, I'm a bit worried. I mean, this is 18 yards last week. And then the week before he had like 50 some yards, but they all came on the last drive in garbage time, basically. DJ Moore worries me because I don't know. It's just not, it's like that connection, him and Bridgewater is just not there. I don't know what else to say. It's just, it doesn't feel like it's there. And it was like a couple weeks ago where you're all of a sudden like, oh, maybe here's DJ Moore playing well, but it was just 2 touchdowns. It was still the same kind of four catch thing. He's been getting those 4 catches, 5 catches. And then the last 2 weeks, he's not even got that. So DJ Moore, I mean, how would you put him in your lineup?
Not if I didn't have to. And once again, to be fair, I'm not a DJ Moore guy. I mean, at week 7, I was also the one that said I would still trade him, even though he had 3 games in a row that were very good. And you can either think that he's trending up or this is the top of the mountain and then he's probably sliding back down. I mean, do you expect him to catch 2 touchdowns every game? No. But that middle section, like you said, only 4 to 5 catches, it definitely hinders you. But he was doing well, 93 yards in each one of the 3 games, 3 touchdowns. But hey, I don't think this team relies on one person, and you have McCaffrey. McCaffrey coming back last game, I do think it really does hurt DJ Moore.
Yeah.
Depending on what happens with him, it might help him a little bit more, like a little bit get back on track. But at the same time, not only did McCaffrey come back, but Samuels has all of a sudden kind of risen, and now he's getting looks and he's the one looking a little bit better. And they're letting him rush the ball a little bit too. So do I ever think that everyone's going to get on the same page? No. And I think this guy will be high highs and low lows, and I think most of it is going to be lows, and I do not trust DJ Moore.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, final guy I'm going to talk about, this will be the final guy I have, is Corey Davis. So we led one of our good listeners, David Lawrence. We led him astray last week. We told him play Corey Davis with confidence, and Corey Davis gave us 0. He gave us if you got points for drops, he would have gave you a couple points.
Man, made us look like damn liars.
Sorry about that, David. I really am, buddy. So this one, I will say I don't have confidence now in Corey Davis to start him at all. My confidence was starting to build, and that wiped it out. That wiped it out completely. Corey Davis would have to show me something for multiple weeks before I ever trusted him again. I mean, that's where I'm at. I'm just, I mean, you let me buy in, Corey. I bought in. I bought in again. And look what you did. It's like the Lions do to us every year. You let us buy in at that one point, and then look what you do to us again. Corey Davis, I'm done with you. Unless you have 2 good weeks in a row, then I'll buy back in.
Yeah, then I'm back.
Yeah. Same thing with the Lions. If you go on a win streak, I'm back. But same thing. So I don't know how you feel about Corey here.
Yeah, that one hurt. That was a weird one. And we know this can happen against Tennessee too, because as much as they do well, they usually are really, really efficient. And AJ Brown is kind of the poster child of this. He never has a lot of catches, but somehow he always finds the end zone, 3 catches for 90 yards and touchdown. Corey Davis was starting to look like he could actually produce on that kind of thing. And then you do this, and I'm with you. That one shook me bad, because if you can't manage to put up a few points, even if you're having a bad game, it shows me that there is a lack of interest of, let's get him the ball, let's get him involved, let's do this. It's not really that. It's he doesn't have it today. Let's go away. We'll run it with Henry a million times. So that is what worries me. So it shook me really bad as well, where I would not be starting him this week.
Yep. So, all right, that's going to do it though for our week 10 episodes. I'll say we'll be back Sunday night to talk about how the games went. Maybe Corey Davis goes 8 for 150 and 2 touchdowns. So that's probably what'll happen. Corey Davis will be the guy that always plays well in the week we don't play him. That's what's going to happen. But that'll do it till then. Talk to you guys next time.